My name is Mona, and I'm a very grateful addict. Thank you. Can you all hear me? Oh, well. Why don't you all sit down? There's a floor there. It must be possible. I'll try to tell you a little bit about what it used to be like, what happened, and what it's like today. First of all, I would like to thank the committee for asking me. I'm always honored when I'm asked to speak. I always wonder why, too, but, you know, I get real nervous, and so you please be patient. Until I'm a little in it, I'm a little nervous. I also need to tell you that I do not speak for Narcotics Anonymous, for which they are eternally grateful. Have to stand over here, huh? Anything I tell you is my opinion. My clean date is the 12th of August, 1968. And I always like to say, it may not impress you, it impresses the shit out of me. I also probably need to warn you, if there's small children or swearing offends you, you probably need to get the fuck out. I am born and raised in California. I am not from the Southern California region, I must correct. I am from the San Diego Imperial region, which happens to be the best region in the world. I am half Irish, half Apache Indian, and I was raised a Roman Catholic, so you know I had great need for a program. I am hopefully recovering from all that. I am 8 times married and 1 near miss. I've only found it necessary to do that once, please God, in recovery. And I watched him die of my disease, so I've done all I can do for marriage, probably set it back 500 years. There are a few people in the room who know me, so I have strong opinions. I have very little trouble expressing them. If they offend you, talk to your sponsor. Please don't come tell me afterwards. In California, we know how to count. And our first tradition says, in our traditions it says, these are the things that make our recovery possible. And you know, I know the order of the steps. It's quite amazing you guys don't count too well in the traditions. I know the order of the traditions, and I know the order of the concepts. But if the most important person in a meeting is the newcomer, they don't. And they need to hear the things that made our recovery possible. And you better go home and hit your knees for trusted servants. Because when I got clean, there was one meeting in the world. And there was no literature. And there was nothing. And for you ladies in the room, you might like to know that I was told at my first meeting that I was not welcome because it was a man's disease. And I said, in you motherfuckers big enough to throw me out, I have not used since that day. And it also might interest you to know of the 10 longest clean time in the world, 7 are women, so I rest my case. And if a couple of those old guys die, we'd have it all. Gotta get rid of Bob and Vito and a few of them and then be all women. Then you guys better learn to behave. I am born and raised in a town, I hope none of you know where it is, called El Centro, California. Oh, poor soul. It's where they send Catholics to see if you can make purgatory. Everything that creeps and crawls and is filthy and dirty got through there so the rest of the world wouldn't be messed up. I am blessed, sometimes I think I am blessed, that I own my own treatment facility. And other days, you have to be careful what you pray for. But I hear a lot in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous today that I really don't like. And one is, I'm from a dysfunctional family. Who the fuck isn't? And I was the most dysfunctional thing my family ever saw. And I parlayed that into my mother being my banker for a great many years. Because it was her fault. Because if it wasn't her fault, there was just her and I. Guess who? Anyway. I came from a loving, caring, indulging family. I am one of those people that believe I was born an addict. I had the behavior right out of the chute. I am the only girl and 35 grandchildren and the baby. So I'm a tad spoiled. And my grandpa and grandma raised me, and my grandpa used to tell me that I was special. And what I heard was I was different. And my grandpa used to have this joke, he'd say, because I'd cry because I wasn't a boy. And my grandma said, well, if you can kiss your elbow, you turn into a boy. So till I was about 16, I tried. And then I found God loves us better. We got the price built in. And there's a great advantage to being female, trust me. I mean, I'm an old broad, and there's still great advantages to being female. I graduated high school when I was a month shy of 16. I graduated UCLA when I was 18. I had my first doctorate degree when I was 21, and when I was 22, I was doing 10 to life. And that was the high point of my addiction. I was introduced to recovery when I was 20 years old to another fellowship. Stayed 3 days, said if I was as old as these old broads, I'd quit too. And by the grace of a loving God, I lived to be that old. I am the one that your sponsor told you to stay away from. I ran in and out for 12 years. And people would say, don't get away from her. She ain't never going to make it. And I love to go to LA and go. Because a great many of those, she's not going to make it, have less time than me, and there is a God. You know? My treatment facility, I only take the ones that nobody else wants, the ones that say they'll never make it. And they are truly a gift for God for me. I stayed, like I said, 3 days. In the time from 20 years old until I got here, I went and did all the things that as a little girl were not on my list. I went all the places that I said I would never go and did the things I said I would never do. I spent 7 years in the penitentiary. In the first year, I spent 7 months in solitary confinement because I thought I was tough. And I found out they can do things to you that your attorney can't see. And a black lady taught me how to do time and said, you do it here. They can have your body, but your mind can be anywhere. And that has served me quite well. The only emotion I had when I got here was honed to a fine science in those 7 years, and that's called hatred. I used to walk into the other fellowship, into rooms, because my sponsor said I did not use 1 day a week, so I couldn't just go to one meeting a week. And I'd walk in a room full like this, and people would move away from me. Now, I didn't smell bad. I didn't carry a gun. Didn't do any of that, but I just radiated that hatred. And you know, to this day, I can be in a bad mood. And I can walk downstairs in my facility through my clients, and they get real busy. They just move away. And I don't know what that is, but we have that says, leave me the fuck alone. You know? And when I was new, my favorite thing was, I don't know how it is here, but it might be a little similar. People would say, how are you? I'd say, fine. Fine means don't fuck with me, it's none of your business. I love newcomers. They certainly make me laugh. I love somebody with 3 heartbeats clean and say, I'm so glad to be here. It's where I always wanted to be. I found God. I've incorporated the steps of my life, and everything is wonderful. And I always say to myself, and this too shall pass. Because if you're like me, this is the last place on the face of the earth you wanted to be. And my home did not look like this. My home looked like a bombed out area. You know, by the grace of a loving God, I don't sponsor anybody that's new. When I got clean, my sponsor told me I would go to 365 meetings in 365 days, and if I missed a day, I'd start over. She told me I could not open my mouth for 1 year because they did not need me sharing my disease, and that's all I had to give away. And I wish that was the rule today. People in my area give tokens for different lengths of clean time, and the person that gives the token talks, and the person that gets it talks, and they take 14 in a week. You know, and they're always telling me how it works, and please sit down. I know all about that. I ran in and out. And the thing, I got clean once because I was getting ready to go back. I didn't get clean. I quit drinking. And I was go back to the penitentiary. Now, we may be dumb, but we're not stupid. And my mother, and it's very important to my mother, she said, all the right people are doing it. Okay, Ma. My attorney said, sounds like a good idea to me. And whoever I was married to at the time, I don't know. Must have been somebody. Said, why don't you do this? So in those days, we did not know about cross-addiction. We did not know if you're addicted to one, you're addicted to all. So I quit drinking, kept shooting dope, and worked the 13 step to the very best of my ability. If any of you are too new to know you don't know what the 13 step is, you see those people hanging by the door, they'll explain it to you. And I would like to tell you that only men do this, but it's an honest program. I've been there and done that. And I'm going to tell you, if they get well, they drop you like a hot potato anyway, because they know you're real sick. I love to hear people complaining about their significant other. Well, I've been with her since she was brand new and now she's left me. I said, good for her. You got what you paid for. And she got well. The day I came back, I would like to tell you that I got clean because I wanted to be a better mother. I would like to tell you I got clean because I wanted to be a better daughter. I would like to tell you I got clean because I wanted to become a friend to mankind. I got clean because it did not work anymore. If I'd have had one more lie that I could have sold, or I could have gotten loaded one more minute, I'd have a different clean date. See, I'm one of these people that do not believe that I paid for my seat when I walked in. But I have paid dearly for it to stay. I have had to do all those things that I thought only you poor sick people needed to do. And until I was willing to do these things, I was not able to stay. I had to make peace with the one person in my life that I never wanted to know. And that was me. I am the only fish I have to catch. The whole job here is for me to learn to love me. Because if I love me, I'm not afraid of you. Now, and I can truthfully say, I do not care if you like me. I like me today. You know, I love everyone in Narcotics Anonymous. There are a great many people in Narcotics Anonymous I don't like. But my program tells me that I am responsible for the hand of NA to be there. And that's not just for the newcomer walking through the door. I've been a lot of places lately. I speak a lot. And I really need to address some of the things that are frightening to me. You know, time does mean something. The only person time doesn't mean anything to is the person who has none. And I don't have the same amount of time as one of those people with one day because maybe I woke up before them. Bullshit. I have worked hard. I have been clean 28 years, 6 months. Today's the 1st. 13 days, and at 1:30 it was 13 days, so I've been clean how many ever hours? I can't see, I'm too old. You know, and I have paid, and I am astounded at the disrespect given people with time. I'm amazed. You know, I'm amazed that you people think you don't need us. I'm amazed that you can gossip about how we do it. I have people come to me and say, well, they don't come to me, they sneak and tell somebody I sponsor like they wouldn't tell me. Say, well, I hope when I get her time I'm more well than she is. My answer to that is, when you get my fucking time, we'll talk about it. Because you ain't getting my seat. You know, I was at the Southern California Convention, and there the people with 1 day or less come up and identify themselves. Man came up and identified himself in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, where we say, let us love you until you can love yourself. There were 6,000 people in that room, and he said his name and said he was an alcoholic, and he was booed. I'm ashamed. I mean, if he has 6 years, then he needs a sponsor to grab him by the ass and beat the shit out of him. But not with 1 day. You know, there's a thing about we must be politically correct. Well, maybe on the East Coast it's different. I've never met a politically correct dope fiend. Never. I would rather one wrong person get in these rooms than someone who is dying being made felt unwelcome because they don't know the correct terminology. Because you see, water will seek its own level. They will go where they belong. All I care is they don't die. I don't care if you go to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Just don't die. You know, we've gotten so correct that we've forgotten who we are. You know, I am a dope fiend, and I need all the love and all the understanding that is possible to get, because I am suffering from a disease that my sponsor has 40 years in Narcotics Anonymous.
Yes.
And you know what? She still suffers from the same thing that I suffer from. I am selfish, I am self-centered, I am self-seeking, I am afraid, and I cover it with arrogance. So please, remember that because we have time, we've enabled you people to be here. We didn't settle for another fellowship's literature. We didn't settle for a lot. And if it wasn't for people with more than 20 years, you'd be still sitting in another fellowship. Oh. That's all my lecturing for today, maybe. I've sponsored a lot of women. I was in that, whatever that thing was, game thing the other night. What was that? Talk show. I had to run out of the room because I told a girl I sponsor is here with me, and I said, if I open my mouth, they'll run me out of town before I ever even get to speak. When I tried to come back in, some guy, they're very diligent on the door, said, I'm sorry, you don't have a tag, you can't come in. I said, okay. I don't care. I happen to believe that women sponsor women and men sponsor men. And if you are a female with a man sponsor, please don't try to come and talk to me, because you will not change my mind. I do not believe that it's anything other than, I told you I was many times married. God knows I've had a few men in my day, and I don't understand them any better today than I did when I got here. And they don't understand me. It isn't that they don't have program to give me. It isn't they don't have love to give me, and I'm not talking about lust. But it is, I am female and different from men. Thank you, God. And they're different from me. Thank you, God. Now, I got clean a long time ago, and I still had a woman sponsor. I've heard a lot about sponsorship over the years. I hear a lot of bullshit about it. I hear, well, I can't find a sponsor used like me, thought like me, dressed like me, of the same income, same likes and dislikes. You show me in any piece of literature, in any fellowship, that's a prerequisite for being a sponsor, and I'll kiss your ass in the middle of this room. Maybe. What it says a sponsor is someone who will love you enough to tell you the truth about yourself. I believe a sponsor should have a few things A sponsor should have a sponsor. A sponsor should have gone through the steps and traditions. I can't give you what I ain't got. A sponsor should be involved. If you've done this convention, a very few people stood up. You know about service, 10% do, 90% bitch. I miss the days when there were guns and knives and people go out in the parking lot and just beat the shit out of each other over V or A or what the fuck you mean saying that about. Now we're very civilized. We talked for 42 days about $4. I was clean for 10 years before I even asked where the money went. Who cares? I knew that people with time took it in the back, they all went and got loaded, and when I got more time, they'd let me in that group. The lady was my first sponsor. I'm sure they drew straws and she lost. Because I am not a day at the beach today. But 28 years ago, trust me, not welcome many places. I hated her. I hated everything about this bitch. I hated the way she walked. I hated the way she talked. And when they read that, do you want what we have? I think, fuck no! So when I got clean in those rooms, the other fellowship, they had those men that haven't seen their you-know-what in 10 years. All sitting back like this. All driving Fords. I was driving a Mercedes. And they'd say, you want what we have? And I'd say, fuck no. Now I must tell you, the hook in that, I now drive a Ford. She'd only been with one man in her whole life. I used to tell her so many men in such a little time, it seems kind of like a waste to me. Her house was immaculate, and she didn't pay somebody to clean it. That's a novel concept. She walked exactly the way she talked. She had one child. She lost it to this disease, and she never missed a beat. And she taught me everything I value today. I'd like to share some of that with you. She taught me that it takes courage for a dope fiend to get clean. If you believe you are sitting in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous because you are weak, I would strongly suggest you ain't done using. Because the strong people come here and look at who and what they are, and we change and we stay. And she taught me that honesty means I must be honest with me. Has nothing to do with your car, your money, or your old man. That I must be honest with me, that I may do anything I want in recovery as long as I am willing to be responsible for that action and take what comes from it. Now, when I was newer, I was willing to do a lot of shit I ain't willing to do today. Because I don't want to pay the tab. It's not I'm a spiritual giant. One, I hate saying I'm sorry. Two, I hate saying I'm wrong. I don't do amends real well. One time I went to make amends with somebody that we're very tight-knit fellowship, cohabitated with my husband. And I walked in, my sponsor said, because I had been gossiping about her. My sponsor says, well, you got to go in and make amends to her. So I went in and took one, looked at her pulled her over the desk and just slapped the shit out of her. Then I had to go back and make amends. So it's not that I've gotten spiritual, it's just I really don't like doing that. And I don't like the price I have to pay. When I was new, if you pissed me off, I could chew on it for 2 years. I mean, I could talk about you to me and say, look at that bitch. Look at her. And now I really don't care. You know, it's not willing, I'm not willing to give you space in my head rent-free. And I know that my problems, my program tells me, if you fuck over me, I gotta help you. If you burn me, I gotta help you. If you lie about me, I gotta help you. And I gotta pray. When my sponsor told me, you gotta pray for these people, so I'd say, let them get everything I want them to get. My sponsor said, no. Sounds good to me. Let that truck run that bitch over 4 times. The prayer I pray today is, God, give them everything I would want for myself, and let the day come when I mean this prayer. Because both God and I know when I'm lying, and when I add that P.S., it goes away. I prayed for my stepfather for 11 years. And when I added that P.S., let the day come when I mean this prayer, within inside of a month, all the issues I had with him were done. And when he died, I was the one taking care of him. So God gives you a chance to get even. God gives you a chance to pay back in kindness. And I don't mean in meanness. But gives me a chance because you know what? I fucked over 10,000 people that I'll never know who they were. I get here and I get to stand upright and walk as God's child in God's earth. And I am free. And how I get to stay here, the equation is God first, others second, and because of those two, God brings me tenfold what I could imagine. The most important thing that my first sponsor taught me, I believe, is the definition of love. Nothing in return. Because if you're like me, and I love you, I got a long list you better adhere to. And then when they say, well, what are you willing to give? It's very short. So I can walk into any room of Narcotics Anonymous and truly say, I love you all. Because that's what my program tells me. And that's God's plan. If the therapeutic value of one addict helping another, it means I gotta love you. Because I'll tell you what, 28 years has not made me well. And left to my own device, I will set you up in a hot minute. You know, because, oh, you backed me in a corner. You hurt me or mine. And I forget about 28 years of recovery. And my first thing is, I will get you no matter how long it takes. You know, and we ask you to do many, many things here that are very frightening. My first sponsor taught me that what I have to do is become transparent. That I must let you see all of me. The good, the bad, and the boring. You know, because you know what? People know if you got a little time, sometimes being clean is flat fucking boring. I mean, it is. You got to talk to broads I wouldn't have spit on when I was using. How are you? Oh, I'm so glad to talk. Yes, please call me at 3 o'clock in the morning. You always have to smile and be nice. It's boring. I drive by a police car, my heart doesn't even skip a beat unless I'm doing 95 and a 25. When people knock on my door, I live a long ways out, so that doesn't happen often, but I'm not afraid. So that's what came from that equation. of God first, then others, then me. And I always had it backwards. It was always me, then you, and fuck God. Because I knew about God. I was raised Roman Catholic. We went to Mass until, when I was using, I always walked around with a bump on my head because I'd pass out when I was kneeling. Boom. Go to midnight Mass, yes. Boom. Go to communion, boom. I laugh because my kids went to Catholic school, and just like me, I said, I will never make anybody I love go to Catholic school. My kids went to Catholic school. I will never make my children go to Catholic school. All my grandchildren go to Catholic school. So I don't know. But I'm not too welcome with the 8 times married, so. Never in the church, so I did have some brains going. So I guess according to church, I'm a virgin and hot damn, I can still go. My sponsor took me to service meetings for 2 years and told me I could do nothing but clean up ashtrays and wash cups. In those days we had real cups. I said, I got a maid at home. Can't she do this shit? He said, no, you'll do it. You will not open your mouth. You will go with me and you will learn what it means to be of service to other people. I moved more broads that I hated. I went and babysat. I didn't even like my own kids. I had to babysit somebody else's. For the first 5 years I was clean, I had to clear with my sponsor where I could go. And for 3 of those years, she made me volunteer on Saturday night from 11 to 4 at the emergency hospital in Los Angeles, downtown LA, so she could see what my disease was doing to people. And to see the havoc we wreak. And I hated this woman. I mean, I have never had anybody I sponsor say the things to me that I said to her. And she loved me unashamedly. She used to touch me a lot, pat me. And I don't know about you women, but when I got here, if you put your hands on me, it meant money was going to change hands. And she'd hug me, and I'd say, if you touch me one more time. She'd say, that's right. And I love newcomers' hugs. When you're out there, you fuck anything breathing, right? You get here when you hug, only shoulders can touch. No, only shoulders. Yes, and they're like posts, just like hugging us. Oh, yes. And she made me do all that stuff, let people hug me, and I hated it. I mean, please don't let this son of a bitch put his hands on me. And now if I'm somewhere and it's like New Year's Eve, 15 minutes before midnight, I go hide in the bathroom. I do not like people putting their hands on me. I hug because that's the way we do here. But I don't like other than here. Some people think because they hug you in the rooms that gives them right for other things. That doesn't. She told me that what the fuck time is it? He told me I had to get off because you have to be out of the room and I get lost. I better hurry. She told me I couldn't go anywhere for 5 years. That I had to go to the same clubhouse, be there half hour early, and tell every speaker I enjoyed him, even though I hated him. And I had to stay a half hour late. And I used to sit in this seat right here. And I went back when I had 10 years and there was some bitch in my seat and I was pissed. Because I sat in that seat for 5 years. She told me I could go nowhere else. When I had 5.5 years, I wanted to go. One time I'd flipped a coin and gone to Hawaii, so I wanted to go to Alaska. And so I went to Alaska. The last thing she said to me is, now Mona, you know how you are. I heard some group here said, oh, my sponsor told me not to get involved, so I didn't. You must be a very strange breed here. I have never said that to anybody that they follow through with it. And mine said, do not get involved, and I ran out and found the sickest sumbitch I could find. And it was love. And I was doing good, because he had 8 years and I had 3 months. So I knew I was ahead. And I paid dearly for that. I had a child of that relationship, and he decided to go back to his wife. And that child was born dead, and I did that alone. And coming home from the hospital came to me that I deserved something better than somebody else's leftovers. And I have not dated a married man from that day. So she said to me when they got on the plane, now Moni, you know how you are about me. And I said, I will never marry again. I don't know about your God, but mine has a hell of a sense of humor. As soon as I say never, I am doing it. As soon as I say always, I cease and desist. So I met him. And he was all the things I'd ever wanted in a man. He had one little teeny tiny flaw. Day after we were married, he told me he'd been loaded the night before. And of course I was the executive director of a 450 bed facility, so I could save him. And for 6.5 years I tried. I mean, you can only clean a house so much. It's really, I have a big sign that one of my babies made me that said, dull women have clean houses. And I like that sign. I tried everything I knew because this man was all the things I dreamed of when I was a little girl. And finally one day, I told him he had the right to die, but I had the right not to watch. And I took him to the airport and he went to Hawaii. And being the close fellowship it is, he took one of my babies with him. And when he died, she was afraid to call me. And I said, as God is my judge, I loved him so much that I am glad he did not die alone. And the last word he said at the hospital was, tell Mona I'll be just fine now. I know. And one more time, I was back at that place I'd been my whole life. Why me, God? Why can't I have a husband? I lost my husband, the best legitimate job I've ever had in my life, and my health in 2 weeks. And it was 65 below, and I was cursing God one more time. Why? Why can't I have what you give to everybody else? I'd always wanted my own treatment facility, and because of everything that happened, I had to leave Alaska. And I went home to California. And if I had still had all those things, I wouldn't be standing here today. I wouldn't be in the work I'm in today. And I would never have made peace with my mother. I hear people talking about amends. You don't make amends because people are going to greet you with open arms. Everybody tells you that, you run from them. You make amends because you owe them. If they like you, well, that's a plus. But I've made amends where people say, you know what, you were an asshole using, you're an asshole now, get the fuck out of my office. I always say, thank you for sharing. But my mother was the person I hated my whole life. And I'd written my mother a 43-page letter, and she never acknowledged it from that day to this day. But what I got is freedom. In my life today, my mother's almost 82 years old. And I am the mother, and she is the child. And without this program that made me do all that stuff I didn't want to do, I would never have been able to do that for her. Now, I don't like her any better than I ever did. She tells me the same goddamn shit she's been telling me for 50 years. If I say to my mother I broke my back, she said I broke 2 of mine. She went when I had a year and she said, Mona, I don't understand. You tell me this is a spiritual program. How can it be spiritual when they say God and fuck in the same breath? I said, I don't know, Mom, but it works. Well, she says, can't you go with a nicer class of people? I said, I don't think so. My mother never told me she was proud of me until I had 22 years clean. She told everybody else that would listen how proud she was of the work I do. My mother says I need to get a real job because treatment business isn't a real job. My mother carried her purse with her from room to room until I had 22 years. Say, Mom, where are you going? She said, the bathroom. I said, you need your purse? She said, yeah. I have 2 things I have to address, and I know I'm running short of time, but I need to address them. I spoke somewhere, and I found that their rep was going to the World Service Conference, and no one in that region had seen or voted on the conference agenda. I think there's a lot going on at World Service that you need to be solely aware of. It is 1 man, 1 vote. And if you are not informed, you will lose that. There are things on the floor now. I don't care about gender. I don't care if you fuck your dog, as long as you don't do it on my porch. But I truly believe if we open up the steps to be politically correct and we take the word God out of our literature, we are doomed. Please have your representatives be informed. Please you be informed. Please, when it's a business meeting, do not leave. I have grandchildren, and God willing they won't need it. But if they do, I want the motherfucker open. You know, in California, people are leaving in droves to go to the other fellowship. In droves. Everywhere I go to speak, I hear about old-timers leaving in droves because we are made unwelcome. I was told I would never speak at a world convention because I got clean in the other fellowship. If God means me to speak, I'll speak. Do not give up what you have. Guard your recovery as if your life depended on it, because it is not your life that depends on it. Nobody gets out of here alive. It is your soul. And the very essence of your being is being threatened by apathy. Please, please be informed. Please vote. I don't care. In the years I've been clean, probably 90% of the time, I have voted different. But our common welfare should come first. And I have supported what I voted against. But I vote. You know, so please, I beg of you. I have some water. Get so pissed I choke. How could you send a regional representative that hasn't even seen the conference agenda? Give me a break. Do not let someone else do for you. Be responsible for the hand of your neighbor. When like I said, I'd always wanted my own treatment facility. And this is a real tough part for me to share with you. And someone said to me, I heard you share this 6 years ago and it still affects you the same way. Do you think it's a little bit acting? I don't think so. That's not what I said to him, but I don't think so. I have a favorite word that the women I sponsor know, and I'm not allowed to use it here, but it starts with a C. That's what I told this young lady. Probably preceded with fucking. When I got my treatment facility, I was going to have a partner, and it didn't work out. She couldn't come. My treatment facility is on 448 acres, and it's a working ranch. Keyword being working. Dutch was out and saw it. He said he'd never seen so goddamn many rabbits. We have about 3,500 rabbits. Plus, I have 12 dogs, 5 cats. All the dogs are in the house. So you got to be a dog lover. But my oldest son had gone in treatment in December. Dropped your watch. And this was the son that I gave to his father because he was too much trouble for me to have. And when they did the intervention, they asked me if I would be involved, and I said yes. And I wear this pin in honor of him. He came into my life to die. He was, if you have children, you will know that you have children of your body. And if you're truly blessed, you will have a child of your heart. And he was this to me. He was tall and he was blonde and he looked like a surfer. And he taught me what it meant to have courage. He taught me what it meant to walk like a giant. The 25th of June, he will be dead 7 years from the virus. I believe if you sit in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous and you have not been tested, you're irresponsible assholes. I will not sponsor a woman who has not been tested. I will not sponsor a woman who sport fucks. And if I get one that does, she volunteers in an age ward for a month, and trust me, she doesn't after that. I know it's the first thing that starts working, but put it on hold. My son, I was the one who had to tell him. And I told him that I would walk to the wall with him. And that I would never lie to him. And I lied to him every day. When we took him, the doctor said maybe we can buy him 2 months. We bought him almost 4 years. He taught me that a coward dies 1,000 deaths, a brave man only one. He believed, as I believe, that everything that happens to me in recovery is a gift from a loving God. And he believed he had AIDS because God loved him. And because there was something he needed to do. Now, I would have gladly given up every one of you. I would have gladly given up my other children. I would have gladly given God my life. I like to think I would. I said that. I don't know. God didn't put me to the test. He thought I was special. He thought he would take care of me. He's the kind of child that makes your heart sing. And, it's terrible to watch someone you love die. Because intellectually I knew he would not survive. But emotionally he was going to be the first one. This bright, loving child that God took home to be with him when he was 31 years old. And so the disease of addiction killed him as surely as if he'd still been shooting dope. It killed him at 31 years old. And I didn't know when he was diagnosed if I could do it. My biggest fear was when the going got tough, I would break and run. And you know what? I was a class act. There was nothing unsaid between this child that I had deserted and I. In fact, when he first got sick, he says, well, if I'm going to die, you better buy a new dress. I said, sounds good to me. Every year I'd say, you motherfucker, dress is getting out of style, you're still alive. And people get so upset. But we talked about dying. And we talked about living with dignity. And we talked about living clean. And he never went back on that. He would go places and talk, and he would talk to people, and I know people who are clean because of him. When he was dying and in and out, I called and told people I knew they needed to come. We had 85 people come into a hospital room. And he had been delirious because he had dementia. And he said, Ma, see that Kennedy on the TV? I said, yeah, I see him. It was when John F. Kennedy Jr. spoke. He said, that son of a bitch bought cocaine from me, never paid me. I said, I'll get it, darling, don't worry about it. He was all the things I ever wanted. And the last day of his life, I went in to see him. And I went with a young man who'd gone through treatment with me, who's now out there dying. And I said, Danny, you wait. I'll go in and tell Don we're going to a meeting, and then we'll go. And I went, and as I got off the elevator, the doctor said, you must go in and tell him that he can go. Because the only reason he is staying alive is he is afraid to leave you. And one more time, I was back at that place. Why? Why, God? I love this child more than life itself. And I realized what I was mourning was my selfishness and self-centeredness. Because I wanted him with me no matter the price he had to pay. And I went outside and I said, God, you motherfucker, if you are there, let him go. And I went into his room. And I took him in my arms, and he weighed 85 pounds, 6'4". And I told him he had fought valiantly. And that today he would go home and be with God. And I would be all right. And he said, well, I see Louis. The first dwarf died in Narcotics Anonymous with AIDS. I sat with the 2 weeks he died, and the day I got home, my son was diagnosed. And I said, yes, you will. And we'd put an old dog to sleep. He said, well, I see the boo dog. And I said, yes, you will. And then I knew why I had been here almost 22 years. Because that was the one unselfish act I have ever performed in my life, is I told him he could go home to be with God. And he looked at me and he smiled. And he said, if this is the end, there is no one I'd rather have with you than me. And that's a long ways from selling your ass for a bag. That's a long ways from looking at the ground. It's a long ways from being the animal in the pit that we live in. And I only got there through the grace of a loving God and the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. I love my sponsor. She's the best bitch in the world. And if yours isn't, get rid of her. But I will tell you something else. A sponsor is only as good as their babies. I do not call mine pigeons. I do not call them sponsees. I call them babies because they can't fucking walk and chew gum. I do not believe sponsorship is a democracy. If you know how to do it, why the fuck would you talk to me? My sponsor used to say to me, Mona, how you feel? And one day I said, if I knew how I felt, I wouldn't have to talk to you. But she loved me. She did not love me for what I was going to have when I had 28 years clean. She loved me for the very, very, very sick pup I was. She did not love me when I learned about the program of recovery. She loved me when all I had to give her was hate. Because I truly believe in my heart, if you are working the steps and the traditions, you are not clean. But if you've incorporated them into every area of your life, you are clean. This is a program that works on the inside. It has nothing to do with the outside. I'm telling you, I looked a hell of a lot better when I got here than I do today, because gravity has certainly set in. But the inside is astounding. I walk with the angels. My God has been so good to me. I have people send me their kids. They trust me. I have women I sponsor who value me. I have grandchildren that I am the Bank of America to. And my grandkids love coming to my house because if they want chocolate, cake, and Coke for breakfast, that's what they get. And when they get a little rambunctious, I say, "Oop, must be time to go home." And if they want it,